Hello everybody, this is episode 22 of ZK Live. I'm Zach Kenney, I'm your host. This is our Sunday night monologues, minus my dog over there barking. We're going to be answering some questions, talking about some paint, some business stuff, answering the coatings questions that you have. Some people have put up some very provocative ones. I'm excited to answer some of them. But I'm just getting in the mindset of getting ready for tomorrow. I'm sure everybody else is. It's Sunday night. We're grinding, getting ready for Monday. We have a big week ahead. We finished up a huge week last week. Met some deadlines that were really stressing me out. I'm really excited about meeting those deadlines. It's a huge weight off my shoulders. Every time I have those kinds of extreme time sensitive projects, I always finish them and then say oh, I'm never going to do that again, because they really do suck. When you have to get high quality, high level work done in a very short amount of time, or a very particular amount of time, and you have no flexibility, it adds so much more stress to the whole equation. We like working for clients directly. It's never when it's directly for a client that there's crazy time pressure. It was almost always through a general contractor, because they have their reputation and their client relationship depends on how something goes. So when it's not like the relationship you build with the client, and when timeline changes, it could be a weather thing, exterior, that's what we were dealing with. There's an understanding, there's a level of communication and accountability there. But when you work for a general contractor, they have a whole nother set of pressures, and everything gets pushed down. Slater asked about how the wall turned out. The wall turned out great. We're sort of waiting for the whole place to be put together. When the lighting is not on, there was this lighting that was going to shine down on it. When the lighting's not on, it doesn't look unbelievable. So we're waiting for the lighting to come up. I'll post some pictures of it. It does look sweet. I don't know, so much stuff going on. I slacked this week on Instagram as far as posting on the feed. But the metal wall, we learned a ton. That was a lot of metal to spray. We were spraying it on a compromised substrate. That was definitely, in hindsight, we probably would have not taken on the project in that form and made sure that the substrate was sound before we started. But spraying 20 pounds of metal on a wall is pretty crazy. It turned out amazing. When the space is done, we'll have the final photos. But for our first time spraying that amount of bronze on a wall, it's crazy. They have a bronze wall for their fireplace accent. It's insane. But back to what I was talking about with the time pressures. This weekend was nice. I got stuff done around the house. We were supposed to go to Vermont, but it was going to pour rain up there, and we're not allowed. We're doing some social distancing with my in-laws, so we would have been sitting on the porch in the pouring rain. So I got to stay home, sort of rest and recuperate. Didn't have to drive 4.5 hours each way to Vermont, which is nice. Get to do some painting in my own house. I posted on the stories. My wife and I say my wife and I always. It's Sarah and I. She's always like, I'm Sarah. She helped me edge. She was saying she was edging in instead of cutting in. She was edging in our patio, and we were, thanks to Jake Bresson, who's on here, I thinned my concrete stain even more. We use a solid color stain, concrete stain, and we thinned it out pretty well. It comes thin, but we thinned it out even more. Hopefully it really soaked in there. I was talking with Jake about it, I think last week, and I think Mickey the painter was the one who came up with the idea, or had suggested, if you're having adhesion issues, to thin the first coat. So I thinned it. It was super runny. I have some videos of applying it. I was taking a 5-gallon bucket and submerging the roller in the paint and then putting it on the floor, which for the level of detail that we are usually doing, that kind of hurt the first time I did it. I thought it was actually funny. I recorded it. I'll be posting it. Just how sloppy I was, and even like the cutting around like where the concrete met like this little retaining wall that has all this like outgrowth of plants and stuff. Just like getting the brush dirty. Who cares? Moving on. I don't paint much, but when I do paint, we're not doing very much who cares, moving on type of stuff. My wife and I were joking, and we were calling it Gestalt painting. It's about the overall picture. All the little details aren't as important. We were doing Gestalt painting, which we kept getting a kick out of. Anytime something wasn't perfect, it was just like, no big deal. It's about the overall. We were taking really old concrete patio and applying solid color stain to it. So it worked out. We power washed it. We etched it, and then with muriatic acid, which my wife's a scientist. She thinks it's hilarious that it's called muriatic acid. Muriatic acid is an old school term for hydrochloric acid. So it's the technical term for that is actually hydrochloric acid, but colloquially now we will call it muriatic acid because that's what it was called for a long time. So if you want to sound real smart to your clients, don't use muriatic acid, use hydrochloric acid when you're etching your concrete. If you read the can, it actually says hydrochloric acid, or read the bottle. It says hydrochloric acid. That brought up when I was at Sherwin-Williams. It does sound cooler than muriatic. Muriatic is old school, apparently. But it brought up something I wanted to talk about tonight too. So we'll talk about timeline stuff. I want to talk about some of these pre-mixed solutions at the paint stores and the big box stores and how big of a ripoff they are. If you go to the Sherwin-Williams store and you look at the H&C concrete coatings section and you read the can and it says how to prepare the surface, it says to use H&C phosphoric acid to etch your concrete. If you were to buy this phosphoric acid, it comes ready mixed, not in concentrate. It's $35 a gallon for ready mixed phosphoric acid, which means it's fairly diluted, which is insane. That is such a ripoff. First of all, anytime you're buying any of these chemicals and they're pre-mixed with water, like you're paying for the shipping of water, and you're paying, like, concentrates are always so much more cost effective, and I'll give you a few examples of those concentrates. But I was shocked when I saw. I was like, oh my god, phosphoric acid, $35. And I think I'm going to look at it. It's going to say like mix like 5-to-1 with water and apply. And it says no. This gallon will cover 100 to 150 square feet, which is insane. So you're looking at a lot more money in acid to etch your concrete. So instead I go around the corner to the end cap at Sherwin-Williams, and there's a jug of muriatic acid, hydrochloric acid, also known as, and it's $13 a gallon, and it needs to be, it's a concentrate. So not only is it almost a third of the price, but it's a concentrate that will make, I think we were doing 4-to-1. So now you're looking at 1 gallon being what's $3.50. So it's 10 times cheaper to use the concentrated muriatic acid, and it's actually better if you do your homework. The hydrochloric acid or muriatic acid is a better concrete etcher than phosphoric acid. Phosphoric acid is just a little bit, I think it's not quite as harsh and is more like homeowner friendly. But think about that. By just doing a simple, I had to do a simple Google search to make sure that I wasn't crazy and that muriatic acid and phosphoric acid could both etch concrete. And in fact, that Google search turned up that muriatic acid, that's what I'm going to call it, that's what's on the label, but again, hydrochloric acid, is a better concrete etcher than phosphoric acid. So it's better and it's 10 times cheaper. Now, this is not, you might say that's insane. How could they ever do that? Well, when you buy the gallon of stain and it says on it, here's how to prepare the surface, buy our H&C phosphoric acid and etch your concrete. Okay, people just think that that's what they should do. And so then you end up spending, they must all be sitting in their offices laughing their butts off when people buy that stuff. It's insane to think that you're going to spend $35 a gallon for a pre-mixed phosphoric acid not concentrate to etch your concrete. So I thought that was hilarious. And this is my next point is what Turner just brought up. So there's another even more horrible markup that they must really laugh at us at the paint store. And Turner just brought it up. And I have been caught. I've spent thousands of dollars on the pre-mixed deck wash, the deck stripper. I think Benjamin Moore calls it, or Sherwin-Williams calls it, like some revive and brightener. I think they call it. Bresson, I can't tell by that if you're being facetious or not. But okay, so sorry, I just got distracted. I have a tendency to do that. But if you're gonna wash a deck, you go to Sherwin-Williams. They have a ready mix concentrate. This is very bad. You never want to buy liquids not in concentrate, or stuff like that if you can, because you're paying now for water in a jug, and in marketing, a gallon is $35 a gallon. Well, if it's mixed with a bunch of water, that sucks. So yes, John's onto it. If you're gonna wash a deck and you go to Sherwin-Williams and you buy their Revive, which is like, there's a chemical you can buy that's exactly like it. So you buy this Revive, and it's in a gel form, and it sticks to surfaces great, and it's going to deteriorate and eat away. It's a stripper, and it will strip your old stain off. It is. So I did the calculations, and it's been 2 years now since I did it, but I will conservatively say it's 120 times more expensive than if you buy those chemicals in bulk. I'm going to say that one more time. It's 120 times more expensive to go to Sherwin-Williams and buy the chemicals ready mixed in those jugs. That is insane. So any of you, you can. So this is what I tell everybody. You go to the power washer stores, supply stores. I want to say it starts with an A. It's in Pennsylvania. I forget. If you guys send me a DM, I'll go to my shop and I'll send you a picture of the label. So the deck stripper is one of the products. You can buy a 50-pound bag of it in powder form that will literally last all of us the rest of our careers. The 50-pound bag that I bought will literally last me the rest of my life. I'll never buy another one. And let's say conservatively, I think it was less than this, but I want to say I spent $200 to buy it and to have it shipped to me. It was less than 200, but I'm pretty sure. But let's say it's $200. That 50-pound bag, I can't even tell you the mix ratio, but it's like a cup makes 5 gallons. I mean, that 50-pound bag makes, I did the math one time, and whatever it is, it equals, I want to say it's 140 times, but let's just say it's 120. Yes, Phil actually used some of that bag. So you can go to the store. I did a job one time. It's so embarrassing. I did a job before I knew any better. And I think we spent like $1,200 on those chemicals from Sherwin-Williams, which would have been $12 had I just bought the concentrate. That's insane, right? So do your homework, know what you're using. What I've always been obsessed with this, I guess, anyway, but like, what is in this gallon? Why am I applying this product? What's the chemistry that's behind this? And when you look at some of these products that, like this deck stripper, and then the brightener. So then the brightener is exactly the same thing. The brightener is, again, another $20, $25 a gallon, and it's already mixed with a bunch of water. It's ridiculous. You put it in a pump sprayer, and you do a freaking 150 square feet of the deck with a gallon, right? Instead, you can buy oxalic acid and citric acid, again, in 50-pound bags for... Look up how much a 50-pound bag of citric acid is in powder form. It's ridiculously cheap. And it will last you the rest of your career. So even the Restore-A-Deck, which if you go to like stainadeck.com or whatever, the people who sell Armstrong Clark. Because I graduated from the non-concentrates from Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore. I graduated to, I thought I had hit the jackpot when I moved up to those powdered concentrates, which is what we're talking about, the powder that they sell. I think it's called Restore-A-Deck Stripper and Brightener. They sell them online and they sell them in some stores. But if you do the math on that, I want to say it's like 40 times cheaper to buy in bulk. It's not 140, but it's like 40 times, I believe. If you look at what you pay per pound of product, and if you go look at what a 50-pound bag is from a power, I got mine from a power washing distributor. They sell all sorts of stuff like that. But it was actually the owner of Armstrong Clark is Jake Clark, one of the owners, is the guy who told me about this. And I bought those 50-pound bags, and I will never buy those bags again. And you're saving 120 times. It's 120 times cheaper to buy the concentrate, and I think it's 140. But you guys do the math. Somebody please do this. If you ever go to the store again and buy those concentrated paint strippers and brighteners for decks, I'm telling you there is a better way, and not just better, 120 times cheaper, better. So if you don't like money, I get it, but I like money. I'm trying to be a profitable business. So again, buy powdered concentrate. So that, for any of you guys on here who missed, I got down this road because of the acid etching of the concrete that we did. So we used H&C solid color stain. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Forget what it was called, but I have very little experience putting stain on concrete. But I have this patio at our house that's old concrete. I used some patch. I mixed up some patch. I put some on, and we brightened up our patio, and it looks great. But it was Gestalt painting. It was about the bigger picture. It was not about the little details. Don't look in the corners. There's plenty of little tiny leaves that got painted over in the corner on the edge. I just didn't care. We were just putting coating down and moving on. It's a very therapeutic experience, I have to say. When you come from the world of fine paints of Europe, gloss and everything being perfect, just like, and then I made Mickey really proud. I'll post this video, but I was dipping the roller completely, half-inch roller completely in the bucket of the 5-gallon bucket, and then coming out and rolling it. And that was fast, right? No roller tray, no like getting the excess off, just like drips of paint everywhere, like laying it on. And then I took a moment and I was like, why don't I just pour this stuff on the floor and then roll it around? So my wife, Sarah, took a video of me. The one problem was we were in pretty direct sunlight, and so when you put that heavy amount on, you could move it around pretty good and it would spread, but after a minute it didn't want to spread very well. So I didn't keep doing it. And the second coat I just dipped and rolled. The second coat went so much faster than the first coat. But yeah, we'll see. Now I'm really interested to see how well the solid color concrete stain is going to perform, and what better way to test it than on your own house. We have 3 units in our house that we rent, and we live in one. So we have a lot of traffic that goes back and forth over that patio. One of the doors to the houses is over there. So it's going to take a beating, and we used a fairly light color. We did have like very old, like fairly old concrete. Like it was porous. So I think that'll be on our side. I didn't let it dry very long. I cleaned it yesterday, finished cleaning it at like 4 o'clock, and started staining today at a little afternoon. So again, you read those H&C concrete TDS sheets, and it doesn't say anything about moisture content of the concrete that I could see. It only says wait 24 hours. I can't stand that stuff. When you talk about we're going to just make up 24 hours, well, what if it's 24 hours of 90% humidity? Is that okay? What if it's do I need 24 hours if it's like 5% humidity and 100 degrees outside? Like, when they talk about like, oh, wait 48 hours to recoat, like, give me a parameter, especially with like substrates. Give me a parameter to look at. Like when we look at plaster, we're using pH test kits and moisture test kits. So it's like an objective decision. Is the pH in the range that I need? Is the moisture content in the range that I need? If I'm saying, well, just wait 7 days, well, again, what does that actually mean? So I was shocked to see that the TDS sheet didn't have a percentage that it wanted the concrete to be dry, or a moisture content of the concrete. Like if you're going to use an exterior stain, it's going to talk about what is the moisture content of the wood that they want, so that you don't have too much moisture in that wood. So that was kind of weird. Again, we don't use a lot of solid color stain on concrete. We don't coat a lot of concrete. We do some, and when I usually do it, it's like super above and beyond crazy epoxy from Sherwin-Williams. So that was interesting. Tonight's episode is unofficially sponsored by my Desperation seltzer. I ran out and I had to go to the convenience store next door to get some. What is this stuff? Like raspberry, lime, Poland Spring. Not the best, but keeps me hydrated while I just absolutely ramble on this monologue. What's up?
I'm just getting my book.
Oh, hi. Yeah, so let's get into questions. The timeline thing. Again, I'm gonna say now. Oh no, I haven't. I think I saw somebody drinking Topo Chico. Is it flavored though? I'm not an unflavored seltzer guy. I like my flavored seltzer. And man, do I drink a lot of it. Yeah, I definitely have a very like scientific mind, and when you don't give me objective parameters, it's why I've always struggled to talk to the Sherwin-Williams reps, especially the poor guys that work in the store. I got pretty short with them when I went in there. I don't know why I do it. What's the difference between the solvent-based and water-based concrete stain? Oh, well, let me tell you, the solvent is like an oil. You know, it's like an oil, so it's going to be more durable. Like, it cleans up with paint thinner. I'm like, oh, man. Like, that's not what I was looking for. I'm, like, looking for real objective differences. Can you tell me what's the difference between the solvent and the water? Why do they make both? Instead, you get, like, these they're super subjective, qualitative descriptions of stuff. That's like, I'm like, well, is there someone here that does understand this product system and can tell me the differences? Oh, yeah, you should talk to Steve. So I'm like, all right, Steve, what's the difference? Tell me the real difference between these two. He's told me the exact same thing. No, I did not get the solvent. I did not get the solvent. Yeah, if I had to guess, would I think that the solvent probably has better adhesion? Yeah, but I don't know. It wasn't for my project. I didn't do an extensive amount of homework. Shane just said, have you tried turning it on and off again? That's the kind of stuff that you get from the average Sherwin-Williams. Now, we all know that we all have our go-to people at our paint stores. That there's the manager of my home Sherwin-Williams store, Joanne. She is so knowledgeable. She's been working with Sherwin-Williams for, 25 years. She's incredibly knowledgeable. If I ask her a question, she's not going to give me a load of BS. She's going to tell me objective things about the product systems. Or she might even tell me, I don't know. My God, what a miracle to hear a rep say, I don't know, let me get back to you. That's a beautiful thing. But this, like, literally the poor kid, he gets, I'm looking at the pamphlet for color, and I'm looking at the pamphlet, and he, like, takes the pamphlet from me, And he starts to like read it to me. And I'm just like, oh man. So I sat him down. I was like, do you know who I am, son? No, I didn't say that at all. But when you walk into these places and these poor kids, he's just got the job last year, right? Like he doesn't know. And I'm like, finally I just said, do you know anything about this? Like, and he finally had to just kind of admit, I don't. So again, like, it just makes you realize when there was a homeowner in there and I was watching this like debacle of decisions being made. When a homeowner walks into a paint store, it's not good. Like, hire professionals or pay professionals to consult on your projects, especially ones that have any type of scale to them, where things could go wrong and could cost you a lot of money. It's scary if you go into the average Sherwin-Williams on an average, especially on the weekends when the real manager's not working and the assistant's working. If you don't get a good one that can just say, I don't know, let me get back to you, which is a hard thing to say in our world. Everybody needs to know everything all the time. But I was just like, oh man, this guy doesn't know anything. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I oftentimes, I can't help it when I'm in there. I'll end up interjecting. My dog just came in again. I'll end up interjecting into a conversation with a homeowner and the paint store people because I can just see, like, this isn't going to go anywhere. Let me help. Let's see. People are saying things and I'm not seeing them. Yeah, I don't know is a great answer, right? It's the best answer. Oh, and talk about a way to build trust. I talk about every conversation I have with John Shearer, I started talking about him on here, and he was saying the same thing. It's the power of saying I don't know is huge. The biggest problem is when they tell the customer and the customer comes with the attitude like he or she knows more than you. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. I feel for them. They're in a tough position, but yeah, there's something about the Sherwin-Williams and just the number of employees they have and the number of stores they have that makes it so that they can't have a very high average paint IQ. And there's something about that that's definitely hurting our industry. I think 50 years ago, you weren't going to buy your own paint if you're a homeowner. And so the painter was in control of all these things. And now it's like, yeah, you watch the show on TV, you go to, God forbid you go to Home Depot or Lowe's to ask about paint. I can't imagine what kind of advice you're getting from them. Sherwin-Williams, at least there's some institutional knowledge from some people who have been there for a long time and seen the problems and dealt with some stuff. But if the homeowner is doing their homework by talking to Sherwin-Williams about paint, if you're doing homework about paint by talking to the average Sherwin-Williams rep, I just think that's not the way to go. You need to talk to the chemist. You need to read TDS sheets. You need to understand what's going on, and talk to the people in those companies that really do know their stuff. Let's see. We got some questions here. So somebody asked me what product did I use. I used H&C Color. I want to say it was like Color or something. I don't know. It was solid color stain. Someone asked, am I sealing the surface afterwards with anything? No, I know it said on there was an option to put a clear coat over the top. I will not be doing that 100%. I was done after. I was doing whatever it took to be done today. I posted in my story about it. I was going to do do most of it. Color top, that's what it was called. I was going to do most of the patio, but there's two of my tenants. The only way they can get in the house is through a door that they would have had to walk over they'll have to walk over the concrete to get to. So I was going to do two of the squares, put a plank over the top of it, let them come and go, let it dry up overnight, and then tomorrow take the plank off, coat the square I didn't coat, and put the plank over that for a day. Which, again, like if I was doing this for a client and there was like higher stakes involved, that's what I would do. But I just decided to. So right now we have a downstairs door that people can use to get in, but it doesn't have a lock. You can't lock it from the outside. So it's open tonight. Before I go to bed, I'll lock that door, and then they'll have to come and go through that concrete, and it won't be 24 hours before any light foot traffic. It'll be 12, but again, I don't trust half these timelines, so I think I should be okay. I decided to not put the plank. I just finished the whole surface, and it'll probably be, I don't know, 8 hours later, and people will be walking over it, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, the Sherwin-Williams guys, they're good. I know a couple of the guys there. They're always at PCA. They are playing a middle of the bell curve game, and that's it. And I don't play a middle of the bell curve game, so we don't really jive well. And I have conversations with a couple of the guys that are there. One guy's fairly high up. We've had dinner a few times at PCA events. Great guy, but we're just like, my company and what we do is not super tailored to Sherwin-Williams stuff. Sherwin-Williams is a massive company, and they are looking at the middle of the bell curve. So little guys on the side, like, talking about stuff doesn't really do a lot to move the needle. They're looking at big picture numbers and deciding things on a very different set of parameters than what I do for my company. So I understand, like, there's not a lot my input is they're not trying to, like, make guys like me happy. As much as my rep might try to make me happy and sell me paint, Sherwin-Williams is not, as a company, is not trying to sell paint to companies like me. I mean, they've made an attempt at this designer edition Emerald. We'll see how that goes. But generally these large companies, I just don't think they're targeting the niche markets, because it's a lot easier to target the middle of the bell curve when you're that size. That's just kind of where they're set up to play, I think, from what I understand. I've had a number of people ask me about my shoes again. I'm absolutely in love with my Flofers. I actually have them on right now inside. I don't know why I have them on. But I got paint all over my Flofers. Tomorrow I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to take a scrub brush, and I'm going to clean these things up, and they're going to be brand new again. It's going to be amazing. I absolutely love these shoes. If you do get them, they run wicked small. I usually wear size 10.5 shoe. Those are size 8. But they're wicked comfortable, and I'm a big fan. If you can't tell, they're in all my videos. I wear them all the time. For my birthday, my wife got me some really fancy loafers that are all leather from Todd's. They're phenomenal. I love shoes, but you can't wear them anywhere. There's leather on the. It's like the same leather on the top is the leather on the bottom with these little, like, rubber dots. I walked over some gravel, and at the bottom of the shoes, like, it's destroyed. It's like Croc material, but it's a company called Flofers. God, they're comfortable. They're amazing. I can put them on without using my hands. Like, put your foot in, curl your toes up, and the heel slides just in. There's, like, nothing better. Oh, man. Coming from, like, I was a guy who loved flip-flops, but they're very unprofessional, and I would always put shoes on in the truck just before I got out of the truck. And I walked job sites in flip-flops plenty of times. It's really not awesome. But, man, those Flofers changed my life. Instagram ads got me good. I'm very happy about that purchase. But people do ask about them a lot. Somebody named Cole Taco asked me a question. Who is a better sprayer, you or Phil? And who has better brushwork? That's a question. Yeah, coupon code for Flofers, man. I gotta get some promo deals going. I'm out here hustling for these guys. But no, I just think they're great shoes. They're $60. Like, you can't go wrong. Just get way smaller size than you think you need, because I have no idea how my first pair I bought was a size 8. I did it on accident. Honestly, I figured out if you go to the website and you, like, check out and you don't select size 8 is the auto size. So I must have done that and got insanely lucky, because I bought they came, I wore them, and I was like, they're so comfortable. They fit perfect. So I went online, I bought another pair, American flag ones, and I got them in size 10, like I would always get them in. And they are so big. And I actually wrote an email to the company. I feel like such an idiot. I wrote an email to the company like, I got a size 10 in American flags, and they're way bigger than the size 10 in your Navy ones. They're like, oh, sorry, send us a new one and we'll fix it for you. And then I was like randomly looking at the bottom of the shoe, and it says size 8. And I went back in my order form, and sure enough, I ordered a size 8. So I don't know how that happened. I got really lucky, but they're incredibly small, just for the record. Oh, man. Sorry, Paint Finisher. I'm going to answer the question. I think it's too broad of a question to answer. I will say that Phil is probably better with a brush than me. I haven't used a brush in quite a while at any type of scale. I think I have way more experience spraying fine paints of Europe than Phil, and I think so. That's not really a fair comparison either. So I think I have him there. And then the 2K Poly, Phil is probably sprayed more than me at this point. I never got into spraying much of it. Always had, that was a later thing. So he's probably better at spraying 2K Poly than me as well. But dude, I have gun skills and I have brush skills like you can't believe. I have to say, like, dude, I'm nasty at painting. And I like, let's go. Who wants to challenge me? My team will tell you, like, dude, when I actually do work, like, I'm good. I just don't do a lot of it anymore. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but no, I think my spray skills are something I've honed. I've sprayed a ton. That's what I've done a lot of. So there's your answer, guys. But we don't look at it that way. Honestly, we're not in competition with us. Don't put us in competition with ourselves. We are a team. We're all trying to be better. But man, what a team we have right now. Let me tell you, we have a dream team of 8 individuals that are absolutely crushing. I couldn't be more proud of the people that work for ZK Painting right now. It's so cool to have the caliber of individual that we have. 4 years ago, I didn't know it existed. I didn't know you could do this. So, very, very cool. Super grateful for everything. Okay, Bresson asked a question about knowing the difference between systems that must go together and marketing schemes. Oh, he was talking about. So, to that question, yeah, and that's what I would say, Phil. I would agree. I think Phil is better at 2K Poly than me, and I got FPE on him. But honestly, that comes down to, like, gallons through the gun, which is, like, when you're competent, that's always what it's going to come down to is, like, how many hours, or with the 10,000 hour thing, concentrated practice. That was disgusting. I apologize, everybody. What was I just talking about? Oh, Breston had a tremendous question. I think that this is, how do you know when you have to use the full complete system that the company recommends and when it's just there for marketing? Boy, that's a tough one. I mean, you have to know your coding science. Like, as weird as that sounds, like, I think that's what it is. It's understanding coding science. What is inside the gallon? What makes up a gallon of paint to start with? My dog is completely agreeing with everything I'm saying right now. It's tremendous. Bear, easy. She likes to stare out the window and bark at the world. Anytime a dog walks down the street, man, it's over. So I think understanding types of paint, types of coatings, right? Like oil-based, shellac, primer, like enamels, breathability, experience. There's the biggest problem about experience with coating systems, and in our business is I think it's not very informative. Let me explain why. I don't think you can say, well, that's how I've done it and didn't have any problems. I did it one time, didn't have any problems, so this is the way to do it. I think that's. I get really worried when I hear people saying that kind of stuff, because let's be honest, I fixed a lot of painters' work that they had no idea failed. I don't think that we always get to find out when our work fails. It's fairly rare, especially when it fails after 6 months, a year, 2 years. Like, if it fails after 2 years, man, rarely are you going to find out. It's going to take a unique set of circumstances for you to find out that your coding system failed 2 years later. 1 second, my dog needs to get out again. She just goes back and forth. Go ahead. So that's kind of my point when people say, like, oh, well, this, in my experience, this worked. It's like, well, did you do a scientific study? Did you truly test this? Did you like control your variables? And you did it exactly the same way that you did this, all things being equal, you use this coding system and you use this coding system and you use them to the letter of how they're designed. And then you went back and you checked on them every 6 months for 3 years. And is that how you arrived at your experience? Or did you apply it, it looked good the day you walked away, and the client never called you back? If that's the case, I don't think we can really say, oh man, I know that worked. Because I can tell you, there's plenty of jobs where I did stuff on that I never went back and saw it. Especially back in the day when I was not good at developing relationships with clients. But there's also, when it fails, they're not calling you back. They're calling somebody else. So how are you going to know? There's a lot of anecdotal evidence in the coatings industry. And that's the kind of stuff that I can't stand. And that's where the industrial guys have it down. They have inspectors that come and inspect their work with crazy technology to see how much mill thickness is on there. Is the coating system right? Was the surface preparation to the SSPM? What's that? ASMR? What is that? There's a rating that you have to follow for different surface preparations for metal and stuff. But the industrial world, the scale is so the scale is, or the stakes, that's the word I'm trying to say. The stakes are so high in industrial painting that they have incredibly objective, not anecdotal evidence as to how they do their painting. That is something that our industry, our residential world could learn a lot from. And I'm not sure the answer, but although John down here might have an answer. John said we do 10 to 12 checkup, I'm guessing month checkup, first 2 years, and 6 to 8 months after 2 years. Besides learning from your prep and product, it also keeps the referrals coming. That's a great technique. That's because you have a legit company. Legit companies have systems in place to keep touch with clients. Most of these small craftsmen guys, we suck at continuing the conversation and keeping it going with clients and having a system for doing that. It's in your head. Oh, did I remember to follow up with that client? No, I'm sure, John, you have a system that just gets followed, which is awesome. But yeah, and it depends on the type of coating. Dan's talking about following the spec sheet as much as possible. I think that's true. That's definitely true for the commercial coatings. If you go to ML Campbell and you talk to ML Campbell about how to apply their coating, they have done some testing, right? Because the stakes are higher. They're selling to full cabinet companies who are putting out millions of dollars worth of cabinets every year, and if they tell them the wrong way to apply that coating, the stakes are really high and it costs a lot of money. Now, the flip side of that is you go buy a gallon of exterior paint. We're talking about Sherwin-Williams, who cares about the middle of the bell curve. Those spec sheets are not going to be very detailed, and they're not going to necessarily be well thought out and tested. In fact, if you read a lot of them, it's they're copy and pasted from another paint label. And it's wait, these two are identical. These two paints aren't very similar. How are they identical? Well, you find out they just copy and pasted the labels. So I think you have to be careful. Yeah, and the warranties on paint are a joke because let's be honest. If paint fails, the paint is the tiny portion of the cost to fix it. And that's why, again, anytime you're doing things it's at scale where the stakes are high, where you really have an issue, and that's where on our larger jobs you're doing full scale samples, right, and mock-ups and testings, but when it's a tiny job, you got to get it done. We don't. I've been talking with a guy in Holland to come in on the show. We do not have college to learn our trades. If you want to be a painter in the United States of America, you can call yourself a painter, pretty much. You can go pay like $150, take a class, have a light contractor's license now. Maybe you spend another $500, you get some insurance. So for under $1,000, you're a contractor in the state of Rhode Island, which is insane. And you literally could have never touched a paintbrush in your life. So yeah, the bar is really low in our industry for paint. In the painting industry, the barrier to entries are almost nothing, which is great if you're great, and it sucks for most of us because there's a bunch of people who are just like eroding our trade and sort of our reputation, the brand, as it were. I just started listening. I'm so bad with listening to new podcasts. Once you get your podcast schedule set up, it's tough, right? So that's why I'm sure that's why none of you have listened to my podcast in podcast form, because your schedules are set for your podcast. But if you'd like to listen to a new podcast, you can listen to this on Spotify and on Apple iTunes. But I was listening to a podcast. What's that? It's Advice from a Young Tradesman. Awesome dude. And he was talking about, what was he talking about? I just completely spaced. I'm reading sentences while talking about podcasting. I don't know. Lost that one there. And Mel Campbell will almost always tell you operator error. Yeah, that's what I've experienced, the same thing. Oh, the college for the trades. He was talking about the skills gap and the lack of people coming in the trades. And he was talking about the brand. The brand that the painting industry needs some work, right? If you're at a dinner, like, let's be honest, I don't know, probably every single one of us here, if not most of us here, when we were, especially earlier on in the trades, but like when you're in the trades and you go to a dinner party and it's like, oh, what do you do? And it's like, oh, I'm a painter. Like, that's the crappy branding of our trade. It needs to be like, I'm a painter. Like, carpentry is making great strides in this, right? Carpentry is cool and sexy again. And there's a lot of young people who are like, cool, you know, I'm a hipster carpenter, dude. Like, look at me. It's freaking cool to be a carpenter. It's not cool to be a painter yet. And it's our job as painters to make this stuff cool, because it's cool. We get to transform spaces. We put the icing on the cake. Let's be real. Building the cake, that's boring, man. No one wants to watch a cake be made. Frosting a cake, that's where it's at. We are the frosters of the cake. The carpenters bake the cake. Like, who cares? But somehow it's sexy to be a carpenter right now, and the painting trade, we are not doing our job to make this an attractive thing for young people. So that's one of my things. And what he was doing on there too is trying to elevate do branding better. All right, Jake. Well, you're a freak of nature. Then you can leave now. He said, "I'm not on that boat. I'm so proud. Number one son." It's tough to be, especially if you're hanging out with white collar workers, right? Most of my friends I grew up with, we all went to college, and most of them are all, accountants, lawyers, doctors, whatever. They're doing something. They went to college, and this is the Making Painting Great Again show. Yeah, that's my new slogan: Make painting great again. But I just think like we, as business owners and as painters in general, should all be thinking about how to make this a more attractive field to go into. And I think a lot of it is how we carry ourselves and the level of professionalism that we bring to the table. When in my company, we try to carry that, right? There's great respect for the work, there's great respect for the client, and there's great respect for the fellow craftspeople. When you have a high level of respect and you hold things in high regard, it's more attractive, right? When it's just like, oh, like whatever, we just put paint on stuff and we go home and go to the bar. Like, nobody wants to do that. That's like last resort kind of work, if it's that. It's just one of those things where I think that the painting trade has a ways to go. I think there are a number of people who are working to try to have some better branding, but it's tough. The paint finisher said, I should read these before I read them out loud, but I don't. There are two types of people in the world: one that walk in the room and say, "Here I am," and the others that walk in and say, "There you are." The ones who say, "Oh, there you are," is the best consultant. I'm not sure I completely follow, but I understand what you're saying a little bit. I just think I remember, so growing up, I was in college, and then my girlfriend at the time was in medical school, and so I was hanging out with all these kids in medical school, and we'd go to parties, we'd go to dinner parties, and we'd go out to dinner and like whatever at the bar, and it's like, well, what do you do? And I'd be like, well, I'm a high-end painter, and I had to like qualify, and like, I don't know, I felt super subconscious about that, being a painter, and like, I don't know, I was always trying to like justify why it was good, because there wasn't a lot of like societal, like, oh, you're a painter, you beautify spaces, that's really cool, man. So you put the icing on those carpenters' cakes they bake, huh? That's amazing. That's just not a thing right now. So hopefully guys like me and a bunch of other people we can help. Tomorrow I have the PCA coming out. They flew a videographer, content creator guy out, and he's coming to our job site tomorrow, and we're going to start making some videos and documenting like our company and the people in our company, because I think we have cool people. They think we have cool people, and they think I'm cool apparently, which is awesome. It's an honor, but using that platform to elevate the trade and show young people, like, look, here are young people. They've came in. They did not come into my company as helpers. You can F off with that idea, and we've talked about it before. But they are not painters helpers. They came in as apprentices, and there's an apprenticeship where they are going to learn from a master painter or a journeyman, right, as it was in the unions and stuff, how to be a master craftsman themselves. And like Phil and Dan, they do a great job at like teaching, but also like showing, like, those guys make good money. Like, hey, you can make good money in this. Like, this is a thing, and you can take pride in this. If you want to be part of our team, send me a DM on Instagram. That is every single person that works for my company right now, I think, except for one, the OG Arturo, who does not have Instagram. Other than Arturo, I believe every single other person in the company sent me a DM on Instagram, and that's how we got connected. So if you want to come work for us, that's the way to go. But yeah, I just think we have a long ways to go. I'm really happy that the PCA saw something in our company and wants to start to document it and make a bunch of videos. I've been planning on making a YouTube channel where we document this stuff. So it's going to kind of go hand in hand, and we're going to start to put out some like really high quality content that kind of just shows the trade for what it is. Like, it's awesome. Like, we are badass. Like, We go into spaces and we're the last guys and girls. Like, we're the last people. And we put that icing on the cake. And that is important. And when it's done right, it changes the feel of look and feel of a space. When it's done right, it makes something last a long time. And when it's done wrong, it can be a mess. And the place can feel bad. And the whole thing can look horrible. And blah, 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 right? We are important. And our trade is important. And it's important that we hold our heads up high and we're proud to be painters. I know I am. And it wasn't... I wanted to be for a long time, but I wasn't always. So hopefully we can all do our part to like continue to bring the level of craftsmanship up. How many books have you read or listened to? Oh man, a lot. Let's see. I will show you my Audible. We can scroll my Audible. There's hundreds of books in my Audible account. I just finished Ego is the Enemy. It just told me on here. I forgot about that. But I have hundreds of books I've read on Audible because I drive a lot. So I think that like that's a great way to up your game. I'm obsessed with the idea, right? Okay, so a book, the way a nonfiction book is written generally is a very smart individual who's already probably has some like knowledge in an area, decides to devote 1 to 10 to 20 years of their lives researching one topic. So super smart person devoting their lives to a topic. They take all that knowledge that they've gained and they condense it down into one little book. And I can read that book. And I can take that person's 1, 2, 5, 10 years, 20 years worth of research, and I can digest it, and I can take their wisdom from all their hard work, and I can digest that and download that into my brain. Like, wow, that is crazy. Like, that's why humans are what we are today. Like, drive down the road, look at a building. How crazy are we? Human beings are insane. We build this stuff. Like, books are so powerful because it's all of that condensed knowledge that's taken someone a lifetime in many cases to write. And I can read it in a week and have all of it and then go to the next one and the next one. So I'm a huge advocate of reading. Everyone's gone to bed. There's 7 people in here now. Or I put them all to sleep. Can I recommend a painting company in Cali that you can apply to? What part of Cali? Because my friend Paint Schooled here, he's hiring. He just told me he was looking for a guy named Jesus. So that's ironic that you would mention that. No, he didn't say that, but John from Paint Schooled is a painter in California. I know a number of painters in California. What part of California are you from, Jesus? MTV needs this reality show. What is MTV anymore anyway? There's 2 minutes remaining on this live. Before it cuts me off, I'm going to shut it down. We're going to come back in, maybe we'll talk for 15, 20 minutes, and we'll go from there.